Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope everyone is well. We're gonna get started now. Um, just want to confirm, that the sound is okay today. How's my audio today? Is the sound okay? No echoing. Um, Sound is okay. The quality is okay. You can see my chart. You can see my drawing. If that's all good, if you guys can confirm that, we're good to go. Okay, good. All right, let's get started. So as usual, I'm just gonna quickly run through the positions I have currently. So from the recap video this weekend, closed down bunch position. And I mentioned about I have Aussie Yen, Kiwi Yen, and Ethereum that's running, right? So let's take out Ethereum. So Ethereum, we did see the price push down, right? This is kind of what we expected, and there was a sell-off over the weekend. We created an expanding structure, price push down, and it's looking pretty good. I'm looking at this massive push down from the price. Naturally, we're going to expect a consolidation, which is kind of what I see here. Kind of have a pullback here to the top here, and it didn't really break through this high, which was nice to see. This could be a clean kind of a double top. And I kind of waited for a little bit more bearish kind of commitment to the price. I like how we pushed down from the price and then form into a continuation. So I scaling into a second entry. So second entry order, stop loss above this high here. And price taking me in, kind of correct here and then pushing down. So it's just kind of hovering around this area now. So basically want to see how far, if it's going to continue correct and then push down to the previous low or even the bottom of the previous low. And you can see that there's quite a bit more room to even the low of this beginning structure here, which is kind of my main kind of target to see whether or not we're going to get this move down all the way to the bottom here. So that's Ethereum. So that's running okay. I think it's running, let me just see here, 2 to 1. So about 2.8 to 1 or 3 to 1, something like that. So it's in decent profit. We'll see how this one goes. Let's go on to other positions. So Aussie Yen, right? Aussie Yen, a couple of us caught this bigger move to the sell down, and then looks like it's continued pushing down as we speak, which is good. Now, I was in one of this sell here. I was in this sell on Friday, if you guys recall. I update everyone in the recap video. I was in this trade, and then during Sunday night or Monday morning when price gonna start correctively pull up here. Not much I can do. I put the stop loss at break even here, and then it just had a really kind of a sharp spike to the upside, and then just take me out here for break even. And then when I woke up today, just before New York session, I like how we created this ascending structure. We're right back at the previous sell when the price pushed down, reforming to a correction here, and I just set an entry order below. So price basically just kind of pegged me here, and it's just hovering around here for now. So we'll see how this one goes. Overall bias from the higher time frame down to lower time frame doesn't really change, right? The overall higher time frame, I still reasonably think we have quite a bit of room to the downside, and I can expect this kind of a sell down to the low here, and whether or not we can continue more. We'll see how this week goes. Kiwi Yen, so Kiwi Yen was in our recap video as well, so it's pushing down as we speak, and quite a bit more room to the downside, I believe. Still at the bottom of the structure, there's still quite a bit of room to the downside, and it's the same position, still in this position, push down, price push down, correction at the stop loss at break even here, and they're kind of forming to that same ascending structure like Aussie Yen, and then looks like it's just hovering here. We'll see how if this is going to break down. Looking to see if the New York session momentum will kick in and then eventually push down this one. Now the last one I'll talk about is Kiwi Dollar. I've also gone in Kiwi Dollar. Last week there was a two position I got in on Kiwi Dollar, but they didn't. They all end up with break even. I update that in the recap video. So break even here during the spread, and then break even here during the NFP. And I like how we did have this bearish push down. We basically broke the previous low, and we formed into this consolidation. So I've set an entry order below the correction, and basically it kind of got taken here. I think during Reddit session, so I think I was already sleeping here, taking me in and kind of just hover around this area. I almost get tagged out here. I think I was about 1 or 2 pips away got tagged out, but when I woke up, price is kind of pushing down already. So we'll see how this one goes. It's still kind of in the red, but overall it looks like it's still in a consolidation, right? So nothing changes, right? Higher time frame down to lower time frame. Basically still looking for another move to the downside, and we can see that we still have quite a bit of room to the downside. To this higher time frame previous low, and we'll see whether or not that can be continue breaking down and go down further. So that is Kiwi Dollar, guys. So those are the current live position that I am currently running. And let's get on with this week market outlook. Wow, there's like quite a bit of you guys joined today. Usually I haven't seen 46 live on YouTube, so that's good. Nice to see some good familiar faces. Good day, everyone. Hope everyone is well. And still got 4 more weeks into December, right, guys? So still lots of opportunity. Like I said, I update everyone on Telegram. I'm more looking at, mostly the dollar, the yen, or Swiss to continue, while the Aussie, Kiwi, and CAD to lose strength, right? And I have a few more watches here on crypto, indices, and commodity. So what I will do is I'll go over all these watches really quick. It will take me about 10, 15 minutes or so. And then I'll have time for you guys' pairs or anything that you guys are looking at for the week ahead, okay? So let's look at Aussie dollar first. So let's look at Aussie dollar first. So Aussie dollar. Now we talk about on the higher time frame, basically is looking very, very identical like the coronavirus time. We had this kind of a bearish push down correction, and then we have the massive sell-off. So basically, we're seeing very, very similar price action here, right? We're seeing a similar structure pushing down, and we're at this previous low already. But you can see once if we can break the previous low, price did push down impulsively. So we'll be on the watch out for that development here if we can actually push down further. And further downside is very, very reasonable. And at this current time right now, I don't think selling here would be ideal, but if the price can break down past this previous low, correction here to sell, I think that's reasonable to look out for. Kiwi Dollar, we went over this earlier. If we look at the higher time frame, you can see that this was kind of the previous low, and price push down, correction here, looking to push down all the way down to the past this previous low. And then again, if we can push down more and more consolidation, I expect further downside. You can see again, coronavirus time, we had this like really, really sharp push down. There is really not much correction. It's just a really sharp impulse and move to the downside. So definitely expecting the same thing. I like the way we are right now. I like the overall structure. I like this bearish push down. It's all about whether or not we can hit this previous low and then continue downside afterwards. So that's Kiwi Dollar. Let's look at Aussie Yen, Kiwi Yen. We went over those earlier. High time frame wise, we still have quite a bit of room to the previous low of the Aussie Yen here. And again, I'm looking at previous time when coronavirus formed that same correction. Push down, correct, and then push down massively in an impulsive way. Not quite a similar structure, but we did have kind of a reversal correction. We did have a double top, push down, correction, push down. If we can break this previous low and continue, I expect further downside from the price. Kiwi Yen, same idea here. We created this like a kind of a larger expanding structure here, and we have this previous high as a potential double top. Price is pushing down very, very impulsively. This is good to see. And again, we still have quite a bit of room to this previous low. If we can get a completion of this expanding structure, we know that they can either be continuation or they can be reversals. And in my opinion, this time we have a little bit more bearish kind of development board, bearish confluence. So if we can break this previous low, I do see further downside for the price in the weeks to come. Now, those are a couple of yen pairs. There are a few more yen pairs I'm looking at, like pound yen. It's not really on my watch list because, again, I'm kind of waiting to see if you look at this kind of previous low that the price is in, right? So same thing. This is kind of an expanding structure. We're in this expanding structure here, but the difference here is because we are already at this previous low, and you can see there's a few times price is trying to break this previous low, but never really did. So I think the preferred method here is just kind of wait for price to actually break this previous low, because sometimes the price can hit here and then still kick off and then start continuing, right? So I definitely don't want to get trapped in that sense. So wait for price to break this low. I think that's more ideal, and then wait for consolidation to push down after. I think that's the more logical side or a more better approach. A couple last one is Aussie Swiss and Kiwi Swiss. Again, I'm just looking at mostly a lot of Aussie weakness, Kiwi weakness, and strength in yen, Swiss, and etc. So Aussie Swiss here, we're basically impulsively down breaking this previous low, right? So basically, if we're looking to see whether or not we're going to form consolidation here, if this is just going to push up and then followed by bullish correction, then obviously no entry, no trade, right? But if we just kind of consolidate here, maybe sideways a little bit more, then I think it's reasonable to look for a sell if it does correct and if it does develop. And you can look at, we're seeing a similar kind of price action once again, like coronavirus, right? Push down, correction, and then massive sell off here. So same thing here, push down, correction, and then potentially massive sell off as well, right? So you're going to watch out whether or not the price can break this previous low and then continue. Last one to go over is Kiwi Swiss, right? So Kiwi Swiss highlight time frame, same idea, bearish push down, bearish correction, and then bearish sell off here, right? So same idea here, you can consider this is no longer a bullish correction, rather this is a consolidation here. We push down, now we're breaking the previous low. So now if we already break the previous low, so can we get another consolidation here? Give the price a little bit of room to correct and then look for another downside. I think that's reasonable to uh, to wait for. So that is Kiwi Swiss. So that's basically all the forex pairs I'm looking at. Okay, there's Dollar Swiss also. My bad. So Dollar Swiss, you can see that we're in this like larger, higher time frame structure, and we had that double top here in the making, and was able to catch a couple of sells here. Bearish push down from the price, but we're stalling here, so I think the better idea here is to wait for price to impulse out, perhaps has this previous low and then a consolidation here, and then look for another downside sell to the low here. So I'm gonna go through all my watch lists first, okay, before I answer anybody's question. And if I'm gonna go through anybody's pair, make sure you put in long or short, or I'm not going to go over them. So those are the forex pair, guys, and a couple of crypto indices and one commodity really. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at indices here. So I think last week, I think we all agreed that there was or last couple of weeks there was some good sell-off opportunities. I'm not sure if you guys caught any of these sell opportunities, but they are pushing down as expected, right? So further downside, I think it's reasonable to expect here. So I like how Nasdaq here we break the previous low clearly, right? So many people were giving me like, oh, there was some EMA line that price wouldn't break. Well, it clearly break now, correction break now. So I think if a consolidation here, certainly another downside is very reasonable. S&P 500 also pushed down just as expected, right? So I'm sure some of you guys caught these big move down. Now the move down here you can see is pretty corrective in a way because we have impulsive move, correction, impulsive move, correction, impulsive move look like this is another correction here. So if the price move up to the top here, and if we sustain this consolidation, I think another downside move is very possible. Dow Jones has been pushing up here. I'm not really favoring Dow Jones, as you can see. It wasn't in my watch list just because it already kind of pushed down all the way to the bottom, right? So it was initial kind of where I'm looking at in terms of target anyways. So this move has already happened, right? And it's kind of reclining up as we speak. So I don't really see the bearish opportunity as much. I see the other ones are looking pretty clean, but this looks like it's going to kind of reverse up now. So I don't really like to see that. The only thing is kind of looking at this previous high or even this previous high to see whether or not the price will sustain itself and maybe slowly push back. But at this point, I'm not really interested in this one. I think S&P 500 and Nasdaq ultimately looks a little bit better in that sense to look for sell if it does develop there. So commodity, I don't have too much commodities. I mentioned that I don't really look into anything like silver or gold. I don't think they're doing much at this moment. So I don't see any confluence there, nor I'm looking for any buy or sell. I only have one pair here on watch, which is corn. I like how corn ultimately is pushing up now as we speak. And basically consolidation here would be nice to wait for and then look for another upside. Now it's kind of like it's pushing up here, but we had a little bit pushed down. I think the best is wait for this consolidation to finish and then wait for the impulse to move to the upside and then wait for consolidation to buy. I think that's the logical choice here. Other than that, I don't have else commodity. I'm just kind of looking at oil really closely. I think oil can have potential. We did have this bearish push down, kind of what we expected to do, but now it's just kind of chilling here in the previous low. So I think there is a few different scenarios that can happen here. It's whether or not we kind of continue consolidate here, and then perhaps it will push down, or a potential bullish reversal now because we're at the bottom of the structure. Now I'm going to say I'm more leaning towards a downside move just because the higher time frame structure, if we look at the overall higher time frame, we have that double top and we have basically the similar structure here from before, right? And then we had that bearish sell-off here. So kind of expecting the same thing, if not playing out to the downside. And it's basically the same on US oil as well, right? Similar double top, and then similar potential bearish sell here if it does play out. So that's just kind of on my maybe kind of watch. Nothing developed here yet, but I would wait for a little bit more development in order to get in there. So let's look at a few crypto. As you guys know, I'm more bearish on the crypto pairs. I'm leaning towards an overall bearish market. I talked about this during the weekend as well. Overall, I think it's more leaning towards further downside if we can get more kind of a commitment to the market, right? So we did have this sell off here. I think naturally we're going to expect a little bit more consolidation if it's going to continue to the downside, which is kind of what I'm expecting here. I like how we have that double top here, and then head and shoulder reversal, and then bearish sell off here. So every time we have a bearish sell off, as we can see, sometimes you're going to take a little bit time for the price to correct in order to push down. So I kind of expect the same thing here. We can kind of wait for a little bit more development here on the cap. Ethereum, we went over this earlier, right? So Ethereum to me, it's similar structure like the total cap here, right? Same double top, same all-time high, same intensity structure, same lower time frame intensity structure, same head and shoulder here, same bearish push down, same bearish correction. Now it's pushing down pretty aggressively. So we'll see how this one goes. Again, I was in this on Friday already. I update everyone on Friday before the move happened, right? I remember, yeah, this was a Friday update before the sell-off here that happened. When I actually checked my phone, this move has already happened and they recovered quite a bit already. I didn't really expect that to happen. So, but that happens sometimes in crypto from time to time, right? And you're just kind of looking at whether or not we can get more bearish continuation to the downside. If we look at BTC here, so same idea here. If you look at BTC, it's same price action, right? All these bigger cap crypto, it's basically the same. Double top here, larger structure. We have a reversal correction. We push down, correct, and then we push down again. Now we're almost at this previous low. I think again it's likely to consolidate here, so kind of watch out for consolidation like this, right? Because the bearish push down usually takes a little bit of time to correct itself and then potentially push down even further. Now, there's nothing here that shows you that you're gonna buy or sell yet, in my opinion. Like this can still just kind of moving sideways, so to speak. So I wouldn't jump into any of these. I think the best is to wait for a little bit more development here on the price. I wouldn't jump in. I wouldn't say this is bullish. I wouldn't say this is bearish. I think this is just overall kind of sideways movement. But I think sideways movement are generally good, especially you see a really strong bearish phase to the downside. And correction here usually means that, or consolidation usually means we can get further downside if it does kind of develop that way. Last one to go over is dot USD because it did push down very, very aggressively. We did see the previous low as a target potentially. Now, it's whether or not we're going to continue further. If we kind of just correct here a little bit more, then another downside to, or another push down to the downside is quite reasonable in my opinion, judging by how sharp the previous move has dropped. So same idea here. If we can get consolidation here, I reasonably do believe another downside is possible. All right, so that's it for me. That's all my watch list for this week, and we'll see how they develop into the next couple of days. So let's take a look at what you guys are saying. I haven't really taken a look yet. Um, so we can take a look at a few pairs that you guys want me to take a look at, but make sure you put long or short. I'm not going to go over if you don't put long or short. You need to give me kind of what your bias is instead of asking me because that's how you're going to grow better, right? So make sure you have your own bias when it comes to trading. So let's look at a few of these pairs. Pound Kiwi short. So some of you guys are looking at this one. I think this is probably what you guys have in terms of development. Potential correction here, potential pop, right? I think that's what most of you guys are seeing here. I would say it's okay, but I just think probably this high here would be a much better area to look for sure. I think that's the only, I guess, downside, so to speak, you can say. Other than that, if that fits your plan, I think it's fine. Just that if it's going to break down followed by consolidation, I think that makes sense to reach a potential low there. But personally, I'm not interested in this one. The only reason why I'm not interested here is I think this move up is rather bullish. And judging by what's going on here, like this bullish move is very strong. And what more likely, in my opinion, is we're going to consolidate more to kind of form into something like this, like an inverse head and shoulder or something like that to continue. So maybe there is some lower time frame short, but Maybe this is just going to correctively move like this and then continue. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I'm happy to let this one go. Euro Aussie short. Now it's the same thing, guys. A lot of these moves that a lot of you guys are looking at, it's probably a lot more to do with the lower time frame movement rather than kind of the higher time frame movement, in my opinion. Because to me, this move is still rather pretty bullish, right? Now, for sure, you can argue that move is kind of pushing down or something like that, but in reality, we haven't really seen anything else other than just a previous high, right? This is potential previous high. That's about it. I'm really not seeing too much here that gives me a bias to short right away. Perhaps you guys see it differently, but maybe something like this that you guys have had. But I still reasonably think this move is quite strong still, that again, a consolidation may happen here before another upside, right? So price doesn't just move up in a straight line, as we know, right? And that's always how the price develop. So I just don't see right away shorting here. Would be ideal. Maybe perhaps when price gets to this higher time frame high, just like the previous higher time frame high. Remember when we form into a head and shoulder here, and this bearish push down is actually very, very clean. This is a totally different scenario, in my opinion, because we have the higher time frame in our favor, higher time frame double top, higher time frame head and shoulder. This push down is very, very aligned with that. Whereas over here, where the current price is, we're not at that double top on the higher time frame. We don't really have a larger structure like so. We don't have a little bit more development of the price. So I don't think this one is that good, at least in my opinion. Pound Aussie short. It's the same idea, guys. Like I think a lot of these ones maybe a little bit too early. Again, if you're looking at previous high, it hasn't reached the previous high yet. And I think this overall move is still pretty bullish, depending on how you see this. We had a bearish push down. We had a correction supposedly to continue lower. Instead, it reverts up, correction, continue up, correction, and continue up. So even though there is some lower time frame movement, but again, it's just lower time frame movement in my opinion. I think we have to overall focus on a little bit bigger picture where this was supposed to be a bearish continuation. It didn't really continue after this consolidation. Instead, it's a reversal correction and then continue pushing up. So here is just some lower time frame push down. It hasn't really given me anything that shows a reversal yet, right? This can easily just kind of consolidate like this and then start pushing up again, right? So I just don't see the similar bearish bias. Okay, like it's a different story when let's say when we reach the high here, and then there's a lot more consolidation, a lot more kind of a corrected price action. Then looking for the short here, I think that's reasonable. But I think over here, it's not at an ideal area, and it hasn't really developed any reversal or bearish price action, except only on the lower time frame, right? We know that the price cannot move in a straight line, right? So you can see there's a few times these prices move like this, but eventually kind of just push up as well, right? So I don't see the buyers here, at least personally. Now, if you're looking for just for a valid entry, sure, if that fits your plan, right? But for me personally, I'm not really looking too short here. Dollar cash short. Now, I saw some of you guys are looking at this, and honestly, it's the same thing, guys. We have to factor in what's going on here, right? I know a lot of you guys are probably either looking at this as a double top or maybe at this. I think the really key double top or triple top would be this high here where price clearly reject, right? I think it's better to wait for the price to actually get to this high here before looking for a downside. It's just that over here, I don't really see any bearish confluence. Like you guys, may probably see it this way, maybe ascending structure like this, but there's not, it hasn't really hit this previous high yet, and we've been talking about these move has been still pretty bullish in my opinion. That has been kind of pushing up the price. So in this last Friday, during NFP news, I remember during NFP it originally pushed down and then originally climbed up. Now it's just a little bit kind of consolidation in this area. So I think it's better to wait for this area to at least kind of just finish, or at least finish developing into a consolidation before deciding whether it's a long or a short. Now you can see in my updates I kind of talk about more leaning towards more dollar strength in certain pairs and more CAD weakness in some pairs, and thinking dollar CAD, if the dollar gets strength and then the CAD lose strength, well, maybe this can continue pushing up or something like that. So that's something that I will kind of just wait for this area. I don't think there is a sell right away, depending on how you see this. If you draw it this way, uh, I just don't see. I think the double top would be much better if this move just continue kind of move up to this high. And then if you're looking for sell, I think that makes more sense. Okay. So pound dollar short. Um, so there seems to be a mixed reaction of pound dollar here, right? I think some of you guys are either looking at this as a long, some of you guys are looking at this as a short. Uh, in all fairness, I'm pretty neutral on it because I'll explain my reasoning. We see the same kind of a down or descending structure here on pound dollar here, right, on the higher time frame. And we can see that there's the same descending structure here when coronavirus happens, right? So we kind of have similar development, just various in sizes. Um, but when we look at the lower time frame here, what do we have? Well, we have that descending structure, and we kind of have another descending structure within the descending structure. So usually this is a good potential bullish move, right? Now, it depends on how you see this because this is kind of just trickling down a little bit more and more and more. I remember a couple of you guys were looking for buy here or buy here. They generally didn't really push out or work out, so to speak. I think it's best to wait for a price to break out and then followed by consolidation to go long. As long as the price is still within this consolidation, I don't think buying or selling here within the consolidation is reasonable or good. You just might even just start trickling down like this, right? If it does that, then basically this is no longer applicable or this is no longer applicable, right? Just because a structure is descending, guys, this is something a little bit more advanced, is that just because you see descending structure, it doesn't mean it has to reverse, right? We have seen that on CAD Yen, remember? So CAD Yen here, we see the same kind of descending structure here, price basically pushed down, right? And now we're in another descending structure. Potentially, this can still be a continuation price action. And that sometimes happens, guys. So descending structure is a correction, and it's more going to be a bullish reversal most of the time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? It could just be a consolidation and then price push down afterwards. Okay, so that's something that the market does from time to time. For me, I'm more just on the neutral side of pound dollar. I just want to see how this descending structure will play out. Is it going to break out, followed by consolidation? If it does, I think that pretty much strengthened the bullish bias here. But if it does not, if it just kind of trickles down, eventually kind of just push down like this, and then correction after, then I would say everything here is no longer bullish. I would just be like we're seeing further downside afterwards. Okay, so that's my take on pound dollar. News affect Forex on price action. You can watch this video. You can tell me if it does. I made a video before about does news affect price action analysis and trading. I'll post that in the description here so you to see. Again, I personally think news creates volatility, but it doesn't necessarily create direction, right? So let me give you this link here. So let's continue here. Pound Swiss long. So take a look at pound Swiss long. Now, I'm not really leaning towards anything here. I think this is an overall structure that is still creating. Now, we did have a bearish kind of push down, I think, from last week, and we're kind of just chilling around here in the area. When we look at the lower time frame here, not too much here has given me anything bullish here. I think this could be just a consolidation here. I think the confirmation would be a little bit more commitment to the price, maybe an impulse break to the upside, and then consolidation after. I think that makes sense to look out for if you're looking for a bullish bias. If you're not, then I think this consolidation is not done yet. This can easily turn into more bearish, right? It could just consolidate like this, and now we're going to be a bearish kind of market to continue lower. So I don't see anything right away. I think every time when the price is at this kind of bottom area where it's kind of bottling out, I think it's best to wait for whether or not the consolidation, the correction will be reversal or continuation, right? So there's no need to rush in this area, so to speak. Um, Pound cat short. So pound cat's a little bit tricky, I think. I personally, just my personal opinion is I'm more leaning towards a potential upside move, but it's not really pushing out as we can see, right? I originally wanted to see this descending structure to have an impulsive break followed by consolidation to go, but you can see it's a lot of sideways movement here. It's not really committing to a bullish move. It kind of just kind of chilling around these kind of areas. It didn't really give us a potential entry here. So I'm kind of just waiting to see whether or not we're going to develop a little bit more. If the downside is going to happen, well, this has to break this previous low in order for a downside move, right? But at this point, we're still kind of holding this double bottom. Price is still within this larger structure, and we haven't got anything that is bearish yet at this moment. But like I said, if we can break this previous low, if the price actually break the previous low and then continue, then that would be a bearish confirmation. But at this given time, I don't really see much, so I'm going to wait a little bit more. We went over Aussie dollar right in the beginning. I'm personally is going to lean towards more downside move. We've seen that kind of play out last week already. We see this bearish continuation to the downside. We're at this higher time frame previous low. So basically is whether or not price can continue, right? Um, we're at this previous low now. I think a consolidation here would be nice, or just a flat push down from the price, breaking this previous low, and then consolidation afterwards to go down further, right? I'm not really leaning towards any upside move, in all fairness. The reason being, I look at the higher time frame, right? So you look at what the higher time frame is doing. It's basically doing a similar bearish kind of development like coronavirus, right? Almost 2 years ago. Here's the same thing, bearish push down, bearish consolidation. We're pushing down once more. If we can break this previous low, I do think we can get further downside of the price. So personally, I'm more leaning towards a bearish downside rather than a bullish up move, so to speak. Atom short, sure, we can look at that. Uh, yeah, so if you look at I made a stream over the weekend about the crypto market. I think the overall kind of market is more bearish than it means, in my opinion. I think for here in Atom, it's looking kind of more potential downside. Originally was looking at this as a bullish correction to continue, but you can see after price forming to this correction after the previous push down, we're kind of breaking this previous low now. So if they consolidate here a little bit more, perhaps we're going to see further downside of the price. So I do more leaning towards the downside. You can see what I talk about on the total cap. Basically, it is pushing down, and I think that it's pushing down across the market as well, right? Yeah, a bunch of you guys talk about dollar Swiss. Yeah, I'm definitely more looking at dollar Swiss to be a sell. We talk about this a couple times. So dollar Swiss here, uh, again, we have this overall high. Sorry, let me get this out again. So dollar Swiss here, we have this overall high time frame structure, right? After this bearish push down for the price, bearish kind of consolidation, we are at this double top here, and then lower time frame reversal. So price did push down impulsively, which is kind of what we expected to do. Now, I don't think selling here would be ideal. I think better yet is for the price to push down, at least all of this correction here, and then wait for a lower time frame development to look for another sell down to the previous low. Just because when prices are here, when it's approaching to a previous low, sometimes it just hit the low and then start bouncing off another upside, hitting the top and then still reversing. Sometimes this can happen, right? So usually I don't recommend people to be selling here right into the low of a potential correction, even though this is clearly a bearish correction that we're seeing, right? Better yet, just wait for the price to break down here, right? And then consolidation here to join. I think that's very, very reasonable to look out for in the next few days or a week ahead. Dollar yen short. Yeah, I mean, I'm more leaning towards dollar yen short as well, just like the couple of the yen pairs that we talk about. It's just that looking at this consolidation after this bearish pushdown, I want to see just this consolidation to complete, right? Originally, I had the structure looking like this, but now I think this is more looking like the consolidation of see this may perhaps push up maybe to the high here and then sell off after that, right? So kind of just looking at the development of this consolidation, whether or not we can finish this consolidation to give us another opportunity to sell if that does happen or that does develop into so. Swiss yen for short, yeah. I think the higher time frame looks decently clean. I think everyone would agree it's the same kind of development that we are used to. And we have this potential top, we have this ascending structure within the larger kind of a parallel structure here. It's just that the lower time frame hasn't been pushing too aggressively. It's kind of just push down, correct, push down. A lot more sideways. Look, like this area is looking more sideways, so to speak. Now, this sideways correction can be a consolidation to go lower, which it could be a good thing to have. But perhaps a little bit more commitment from the price, maybe a bearish push down, bearish correction. I think that would be nice. But until then, the sideways consolidation should finish before potentially look for another entry down. I did go over pound yen, so I mentioned about basically just looking at this previous low to be broken first. So this previous low has to break out first, followed by consolidation. If that doesn't happen, I'm not too interested because this is still a larger correction we're in the making, right? So ideally is this move push down and then consolidation here after to look for the sell. If that doesn't develop, then I'm not really looking for long here. I think the overall correction here is still pretty bearish, so to speak, and I'm more looking at this as a double top and bearish push down. And then if we look at during the coronavirus time, same thing where we kind of form into a consolidation and we have a pretty strong sell-off. So similar idea here, double top here, bearish kind of reversal correction, just waiting for the price to kind of commit itself a little bit more and then push down afterwards. Euro Swiss long. This one's a little bit. Uh, I wouldn't want to get in here. All I see here is a potential double bottom, right? A potential double bottom here, but that's it. This is just moving down very, very aggressively. I really wouldn't want to catch and falling knife, so to speak, because you can see this move pushing down is really, really strong and really, really aggressive. I don't see any reversal yet, right? Even if this ends up pushing out, it has to be followed by consolidation, if anything. But I really don't see that here. Like I'm more seeing that this is just a overall strength in Swiss and then albeit the euro, and that's why it's continued to push down like so. So I definitely wouldn't be recommending trying to go long here. I just think that there is not too much confluence except a potential double bottom. And even if this ends up forming into something like this, I still don't think this is enough to continue right away. And depending on where you want to set your target, it's definitely not going to be something like this, right? Pushing to up. So I don't think that's going to be that strong, especially see how fast and how strong this previous bearish push down has been. Um, let's continue here. Any other pair, guys? I mostly gone over a lot of pairs already. So mostly I'm pair looking to short probably. Yeah, at least my personal opinion on it, right? Of course, if you see it differently, always follow your plan, right? I see people saying Aussie long, some people looking at Aussie long, and then quite a bit of you guys saying pound Aussie short, Euro Aussie short, things like that. Sure, right? No one can be always right, right? So follow through with your plan if that makes sense, and follow through with your confirmation to enter, right? I think that's the most logical thing to do, and follow through accordingly, right? So major indices, we take a look, yeah. So Nasdaq here. Basically, we already had the bearish push down. This is a larger correction. Push down again, and then another consolidation, we're pushing down. So basically, you're just looking at this as another correction to go, right? So this could be easily another consolidation, and then to push down the price further. You can see it's consolidating here. It's good that it's not just like right away pushing up after this initial push down on Friday, I believe. This is the larger structure that is currently in the making, right? So this can still be a bearish continuation after, and we'll see how that one goes. S&P 500. Again, we had the top of the structure, ascending structure, push to up, push down, correction, push down, correction, push down again, right? So this could be another correction just like so. So you can wait for this consolidation to finish and then look for another downside. I think that's reasonable. And you still have quite a bit of room to the downside still. And if we can actually kind of, again, complete this higher time frame structure, then obviously further downside is possible. But first thing first, to wait for the price to reach this low here, and then whether or not we can continue lower more, it's up to the market. Dow Jones is not really my favorite one just because it already pushed down quite a bit, right? There's a difference between the other two and this one, in my opinion. Like Dow Jones here has already pushed down all the way to the bottom as expected here. So whether or not the price is going to continue, it's a little bit hard to tell. So because you can see every time when the price hits the bottom of the structure, strong bullish reversal, right? So it has happened last twice already, so it could happen again. I guess the only thing is the other two indices are still rather bearish and could still have one more move to the downside. And typically these US indices tend to move relatively together, so that might help this one to have another move down. I'm not sure, but I don't like the overall structure because I see the move has kind of already completed and we're at the low already, whereas the other two hasn't reached the low. I think that's really the main difference of them. I do have a few position open. I mentioned that, right? Kiwi Yen is the one that's open. Aussie Yen here offer break even, and we'll basically see if this is going to take me out here for a loss or not. But we'll reasonably still see this as a good structure here for a potential sell. So if this take me out here and then eventually push down again, I'll look for another sell, right? Because I already got 3% here, I got break even here, but the overall down move is kind of what I'm looking at for an overall higher time frame kind of development. So I'm fine just chilling here to see whether or not the price will give me another push down. I'm also in Kiwi Dollar here. Kiwi Dollar take break even on the first one and a break even on the second one. But I like what's going on here. Looks like we're into a potential bearish continuation. So we'll see how this one develops, whether or not we can continue push down or maybe commit the price to it. Those are the three positions I have live right now, and I also have Ethereum running as well. So we'll see how these ones go. If it does just kind of consolidate here a little bit more, now I'm just going to hold on to the second scaling position and see whether or not we can continue to the downside, right? So just still holding these positions still, and we'll see how they go. Um, Kiwi Swiss Buy. Well, it depends on how you see this. We kind of break this previous low. Now, you might think this could be a bullish up move, sure, if you kind of wait for a little bit more commitment, right? This is just a little bit slowly move up. This doesn't right away indicate a bullish up move yet, right? So you want to wait for a little bit more development probably. This could be a structure like this, perhaps. This could be a new structure that is currently making. So I think the better side here is you have to wait for price to break out here and then correction to go. But I'm more leaning towards a downside move just because of how the higher time frame has been, right? We're seeing the same structure here, bearish push down and bearish push down and then potential correction to go lower. I'm not really seeing upside here unless, like I said, the scenario has to play out like this, right, to go. But because how sometimes we see these descending channel, they don't necessarily always have to be a reversal. They could be continuation as well, right? So, um, TLT long. I would say I don't really like how we had this bearish push down, even though there is kind of a correction here. Depending on how far this one can go. If we can push up a little bit followed by correction, then that's a different story. But until I see that, because this bearish push down can still lead into something like this, so I'm not right away leaning towards a buy yet. I think I want to wait for this consolidation to at least uh, at least commit itself a little bit more in order for a buy here. Thank you, Sab, as always. Thank you very much. Uh, Doge USD long. Let's take a look. So I don't really see much here because when we see this overall bearish push down, we are more in a bearish kind of trend. In my opinion, this is a consolidation for this bearish move down, right? And we haven't really seen any kind of commitment to the price yet. If you can see, we basically just broke out of this structure and then continued downwards. And last couple of days, we had that bearish sell-off here, right? So it really depends on what this area is going to give you. Like you can either think of this as a bullish correction, but we have seen that across a uh, couple other these currencies. They haven't really pushed out of that structure yet, right? This could just be a fake kind of breakout kind of scenario. So you got you gotta watch out for these situations where um, the bearish move is quite strong. Buying right away, maybe a little bit too early. You might want to wait for the price to actually break this high and then continue. I think that would be potentially a better scenario in this case because I'm always looking at where the impulsive move happened, right? I think across the board, across the market, the bearish sell-off has happened, and all this consolidation here could easily be more just consolidation sideways, right? And then eventually gonna push down afterwards. So you gotta be careful in this kind of states because we see these across the crypto a couple times where it has a kind of a sharp crash. Let me just find it. Um, we have kind of a sharp crash like this, and then it had to recover like so, right? End up creating another structure and then push down more, right? It did had a sharp recovery, but it wasn't enough to start reversing from the bearish correction. It did instead kind of form into a more consolidation and push down more. So just have to be careful in this case. Sure, we all want the crypto to go up, but sometimes when you see a bearish push down like so, you just have to be a little bit more careful on trying to jump back in to buy right away. I think a lot of people are trying to buy the dip. Well, sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, right? Because sometimes what ends up doing is buying the dip is just giving the market a little bit more liquidation, and then when all the orders are filled, we see another downside for the price, and we don't want to obviously go through that, right? Sure, we can take a look at a few other ones. AMC, I don't usually look at stocks, but sure. So if I'm just looking at it strictly from a technical perspective, right, I don't know anything about the news events or anything with AMC, but this was the original kind of squeeze, right? And then now we form into this kind of a larger consolidation. I like how we're at the right at the bottom here, right? So right at the bottom here, whether or not we can have bullish reversal, well, depending on the lower time frame, right? Over here, nothing really confirms anything yet. This could potentially develop into a bullish correction like so, and perhaps that's a inverse head and shoulder. So that could develop into a kind of an inverse head and shoulder, but I think there's a lot more development needed here at the bottom. I wouldn't recommend right away jumping onto the buy here, probably another commitment from the price and then consolidation. I think that's more reasonable to be on the lookout for. But overall, of course, looking pretty bullish, just strictly looking from a technical perspective, this could be a larger correction to potentially go higher, right? So, excuse me. I missed Tesla. Yeah, we can talk about Tesla. Tesla dropped quite a bit in the last couple of days or so. So we look at Tesla here. Original impulse led breaking to the high here was really clean. So pricing D break above now, and we broke this high here. So now we're kind of looking like we can form into a consolidation like so, right? So kind of looking at this structure, as long as this high doesn't kind of broke down and then continue lower, you can expect this to consolidate a little bit more. And if that does consolidate, perhaps we can get another buy opportunity to go higher. But at this time, I'm not really seeing that right away. More just kind of looking at this area to give it a little bit more room to develop, right? So not looking to buy or sell right away here. Yeah. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I just kind of look at what you guys are saying. Yeah, no sound. Yes. I'm gonna repeat everything. I'm sorry, guys. No, I turned I turned the volume off because I was like sneezing, and I apologize. I didn't turn it back on. So let's take a look. I'll redo. Yeah, troll. Let's redo the whole euro dollar again. I apologize. So I mentioned about long, and I mentioned about it's kind of similar like pound dollar, where it's in the same kind of descending structure. Where I think the best scenario, if you're looking for long, is wait for the completion of this correction and wait for a lower time frame commitment to the price, right? And then so for euro dollar here, I think it's the same situation. Like I would recommend the same kind of approach is just waiting for this consolidation to finish. At least wait for the price to impulse out. And I mentioned about uh, this previous high, right? So preferably price should break above this previous high and then continuation after. I think that's a more better choice to go long if that scenario happens. Because what can happen here is price can still be in a bearish kind of consolidation. We look at dollar index here. Dollar index is doing the same thing, but if we look closely, we kind of broke this previous high, right? This was like a previous swing high that the price was relatively under, and we had this really sharp push to the upside, and potentially this can be a correction like this, and then this just gonna continue higher and takes off, right? So euro dollar here, if we look at euro dollar, it's kind of a similar thing, right? We broke this previous low and then price pushed down. Now this is another previous low that price could potentially go up, but another scenario that may happen is we just kind of consolidate this area a little bit more and then kind of push down afterwards, right? So like I said, I think the best scenario here is just wait for this scenario to play out. I think that would make a lot more sense to try to jump in if that develops in that case. Okay, so that is euro dollar. What else, guys? What else were we looking at? Kind of looking back at. Sorry, I missed some stuff. Do I have tutorial on volumes or how they affect price movement? I don't really look at volume if you mean like an indicator volume. Like I don't use volume if this is what you meant. I don't use this at all. I don't think that really, I mean, sorry, I don't use it in my analysis, but there's nothing wrong if you want to implement that into it. I don't use that personally. I think the volume is always going to happen during the New York session, London session, or Asia session, right? That's always going to be the most volume, most traded volume time. So those are the period that we should generally focus on, or at least be aware of during that period of time. You are a long. If I'm looking at this correctly, I don't really see a long here, depending on if you see this maybe a structure, but I think this is overall pretty bearish kind of push down. If we could break this previous low, then perhaps there's going to be further downside. But at this point, I'm not overly bullish or bearish. I think the overall move has been rather bullish, yes, but I think it's this area here because we had this kind of a bearish push down. And if we look at the lower time frame here, this hasn't really come in. anything bullishly yet. Like it has to kind of push up followed by consolidation, right? Then it will become a larger structure like so. But if it doesn't commit, like it doesn't kind of break out of this descending kind of correction here, then perhaps there is no long because at this point, we're at the previous low, right? So wait for this develop if you're looking for a bullish upside. If not, because this move is still rather pretty downside, at least on the lower time frame, you gotta be careful to go long here, whereas it's just gonna continue dropping and dropping down like so, right? So I think it's better to wait for the kind of development I mentioned. Corn, yeah. Well, I look at corn as a CFD here. So I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about corn. Um, I think corn is looking pretty clean, right? We have a bullish up move and we have a bullish consolidation, right? So this overall fits the overall higher time frame development as well, right? Now, I think the better opportunity, or at least the safer one, so to speak, is probably wait for this to happen. Wait for the completion of this consolidation. Like if price does break out, good, and then wait for a continuation here to look for another buy. And that way we can create a inverse head and shoulder and then potentially continue pushing up in the kind of the weeks to come. Um, do I prefer stop entry? I always do stop entry order. I never do stop limit order. I never do limit order. I never do market order. I always do stop entry order. So stop entry order, right? Whether it is a sell stop or buy stop, this is what it is, right? You set an order so when the price, if it's a sell stop order, you put it below the price, and the price, if it pushed down, it takes you in. Whereas a sell limit order means that if the price pulls back, it hits some level, and then it will sell, right? So I always do set a stop entry order always, just because you let the price come to you, right? If it's a sell stop, you put it below the price. If it's a buy stop, you would put it above the price, right? So the price takes you in. This way, there's not too much emotion. Like if you keep doing market orders, then you're just gonna keep executing market orders whenever you want, right? So to eliminate that, just set entry orders and stop entry orders is probably the best. Make sure you put long or short, whatever you're looking at, so I can take a look. Um, let's look at another one here. I'm not really interested in a lot of crypto. I'm more leaning towards a bearish market crypto. I don't really see any bullish, so to speak. So most of the crypto across the board is to me more bearish rather than bullish. So to me, this one here is more bearish, right? We kind of form into this reversal correction, and price actually break down passing this low. So on the lower time frame here, it's just kind of looking at this area to see whether or not we're gonna get further downside, right? We kind of already had the initial push down. I think this was from the Friday, right? And we kind of correct, and then we continue to push down already. Some of the other ones hasn't even pushed down that as much, like Bitcoin, it kind of just pushed down, and then we start moving sideways, kind of thing, right? Whereas a couple other coins drop a little bit more than the other ones, right? So you can see initial rush, and the price is basically almost en route to hit the previous low. A lot of these other coins are basically en route to do that, right? You can see it's basically approaching to the low like this, right? So We did look at Nasdaq already, right? Look at it a couple times. So basically, it's just looking at this consolidation to whether or not we finish, and then potentially get another downside move, right? But I like the overall price. It's already kind of committing to more of a downside, more of a bearish market. You can see this as a potential inverse head and shoulder. I mean, head and shoulder pattern here. Push, bearish impulse, bearish correction, bearish impulse, bearish correction, and another bearish impulse. So this could be another bearish correction potentially to push down the price. And you still have quite a bit of room to the bottom of the structure. At least what we have seen in the past, right? Every time when the price hits the bottom, there seems to be some bullish reversal, and that's something that may happen in this case as well. But I think there is more room to the downside if it does play out. Did you spell that right? BTC3L USD? I don't see it here. I don't know if you spelled that right or not. Oh, you did. Okay. See, I can't find this. I don't know if you spelled this right or not, but I don't see it here. Leverage. I'm reading your question. I don't really understand what you mean here. I'll copy it. I just make sure I read this correctly. I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. Not that I have anything. I don't understand. Don't over leverage advice. Leverage 50 to 1 and 0.01 lot against 1 to 1 and 0.1 lot. Why we have two ways of reducing increasing value of position. First being ratio, second size being the lot. I'm not sure really what this question is, to be honest. Maybe I don't understand this correctly, but maybe other people who are reading this can understand this and maybe can help out. Anyways, so why don't we just say BTC USD? Or is there a difference now if it's BTC times 3 USD? Are we just looking at BTC regularly, or is there a difference in that? It is just BTC. Well, maybe next time just type in BTC will be so much easier for us to understand because different brokers offer different leverage and different way to calculator, right? So you can just write BTC and we would take a look at BTC together, right? So my general bias here, my personal bias, I'm more leaning towards a bearish market, right? We have a double top here, kind of a higher time frame structure. We did have a reversal correction, bearish push down, bearish correction here, and then continue to the downside. We had that sharp kind of sell off here. Now, every time when I see a sharp sell off like this, usually I'm going to expect consolidation. You can see this previous sharp sell off, we get consolidation to continue. This previous sell off, we get consolidation here to continue. So I'm kind of expecting the same here. If it's going to consolidate here, then perhaps we're going to get another downside to the previous low. But nothing is here is ready yet, right? So don't try to jump into anything. In my opinion, like this area is more just kind of sideways consolidation. I haven't seen any commitment for the price, whether it's bullish or whether it's bearish yet. So I don't think jumping into this is ideal at this time. I think just kind of wait a little bit more, wait for this sideways consolidation to complete, and then perhaps looking for more downside. In my opinion, that's where I'm leaning towards here. Which pattern do you confirm? Well, it's not just one pattern, right? There's many price action patterns. So watch my videos on price action analysis in my YouTube channel. I have made a video for every single most used or most identifying price action structures and patterns in the market, right? Head and shoulder pattern, bullish or bearish flag, double top, double bottom, ascending, descending channel. Um, There's an M style pattern here. There is expanding structures. There's rising and falling wedge. All these are the most identifying or the most that you will see across the market. Doesn't matter what market, doesn't matter what time frame. You're always gonna see kind of a rising wedge. You're always gonna see descending structures. You're always gonna see flag continuation. You're always gonna see head and shoulders. You're always going to identify these price action structures everywhere you go. Doesn't matter what market, what time frame. Once you fully understand that, you look at the market a lot easier because you'll see them always develop into the same, right? When I track news channel, I don't look at news much at all, to be honest. The only thing that I will look at is actually this Forex factory thing. I'm sure you guys are looking at. This is all I look at. I don't really look at anything else, to be honest. This is all I look at. So I don't look at anything else. I just look at this solely. In fact, none of these here really bothers me. The only thing that I will really pay attention to is actually just NFP, right? And remember last week, NFP was a negative news, but US dollar got stronger. And then CAD news came out was favoring the CAD, and then CAD got weaker, right? So I always tell people news creates volatility, but it doesn't necessarily create direction, right? So you look at when US dollar news came out, price pushed up temporarily just to push down afterwards. You look at a few other ones, same idea here, right? Push up initially and then push down afterwards, right? So Matic Luna, I think we went over those. Oh no, we didn't. This is kind of how I see the current structure of Matic. I still think this is more of a bearish kind of correction here. This is a potential top. We just really didn't see price kind of breaks out yet, and you can see that as long as we're in this consolidation still, in my opinion, the further downside is still possible if this consolidation finished. So if I was looking towards a downside move, I would wait for price to push down and then consolidation to go look for a sell, right? If that happens. If that doesn't happen, then I'm not really looking for anything. I'm just kind of waiting for this consolidation to finish. Luna, I kind of point out this is a little bit tricky because originally I was looking at this as a kind of ascending structure. I was looking at this as a ascending structure to potentially look for a short here, or maybe wait for the price to break out in short. But we had this really massive push up on the price, right? And that really did not, give me any potential opportunities. And then we had that Friday or end of Friday kind of sell off or crash. It recovered most of it, and now it looks like it crashed a little bit more. So I don't really like what I'm seeing here in terms of price. I think it could be better developed here. I don't really like when I see things like this kind of thing. I think there's just an impulse down, impulse up, impulse down, and generally that's just there's equal amount of buyer and seller. That's why it's developed something like this. So I'd rather leave this one alone and wait for a little bit more development later on this week. Yeah, so that's about it, right? Did I miss anything? Is there anything else we can take a look? I'm gonna slowly wrap it up now, being live about hour and a half or so. So went over all the pairs. We went over all the ones that I'm looking at for the week ahead. This is on my watch list I share in Telegram. You're welcome to subscribe to get a look at what I'm looking at for the week ahead. You can learn all the other price action videos analysis from my YouTube videos. So workshop videos, these are hours and hours long. You can learn everything about price action analysis, everything I'm talking about today. In terms of entry management, it's all here as well. And price action, we talk about that as well. So learn about the structures and patterns, learn about continuation and reversals. I do share all my ideas on TradingView, so if you have TradingView, you can subscribe me on TradingView. This is where I share all my analysis, all the updates, and etc. So you can welcome to follow me here. And I also post everything in my Telegram, right? So you're welcome to follow me on Telegram as well. You get all these contents that I do for free. So is the sound gone, guys? I don't think the sound is gone, but is it gone? Could you guys let me know? I don't really. I mentioned silver or gold is really not on my watch. I don't think silver or gold is doing too much here. Originally, I was more looking at silver to be long, but after this did not continue to push up, I start seeing this as a potential high, and this is more looking like a bearish kind of correction. We had this bearish kind of push down. And this almost looked like it's a bearish continuation to continue down to the previous low. Now, if we look at coronavirus time when we had this kind of a bearish sell-off, and then price quickly recover massively. Now, we could potentially see the same thing here if this kind of just pushed down and then past this previous low, but if there is no bearish continuation, instead bullish reversal, bullish correction here, this can start climbing up very easily in the near future. But at this given moment, I'm not really seeing much of silver. It's going to be the same as gold as well, right? This is kind of how I see the current structure is at the moment. Um, Again, if I'm looking at coronavirus time, we did have the bearish sell-off in the original initially, and then we recovered that by a bullish impulse, bullish correction, bullish impulse again. So same thing here. I would prefer for the price to move down correctively to the bottom here, and if we have bullish reversal upside correction here, any looking for a buy is very reasonable if that happens, breaks out and then continue upside. That's good to look out for the next few weeks. Well, in terms of classes, well, all these you're in a class, right? You're in a stream, you're in a live stream that you can learn. I do these live stream twice a week, Monday, Wednesday, New York sessions. Every other time we have in our group discussion chat room, right? In our Telegram and in our trading room. There's about 1,000, 1,200 of us almost in the room. So we ask questions, we share ideas, we share analysis, etc. So you're welcome to join that to learn more. I do have other contents that I offer. You're welcome to check it out here as well. I'll post the links here below. If something that's at your interest, you can take a look. So decent declining triangle. I'm not sure, depending on how you see it, but I see it more. Maybe you see it like this or something. I'm not sure. But overall, I think um, this is just simply a consolidation that it's currently in, just like a consolidation, like so. Now, if you ask me long-term wise, will it go up? Yeah, I think long-term is looking pretty clean for an upside move, but it's just not. The consolidation is still consolidating. It's not ready anytime soon, so to speak. It's just kind of still chilling, waiting for more development or more correction phases to come, and then eventually we can get another upside, right? So yeah, I'm looking at how you draw this. So something like this, perhaps, or maybe like this, perhaps. But overall, to me, at least, is this bullish move is still very, very strong, right? So I'm more leaning towards an eventual upside move, whether or not it's going to do that, next couple of weeks or next few months before upside, right? So, no, it's not a silly question. CV, that's a good question actually. I don't have that in any of the workshop videos, but I understand what you mean. Like if you want to trade long term, maybe in stocks or anything like that, and you're looking to basically enter trades on a higher time frame. Remember, we always talk about uh, price action exists any time frame, any market, right? So if you solely look at the higher time frame and just kind of ignore the lower time frame here, just look at the higher time frame. So higher time frame, you identify what the structures are, then you enter them at the lower time frame, right? So same idea here. If you're going to go long on Tesla, right? So you can identify the structures very, very easily, and you're basically looking for long opportunities if the price does develop into the long opportunity, right? So uh, I don't think I don't really I know what dollar cost average is, but I don't use that. I just buy at the best price. Like I have Tesla shares, I think somewhere here. So I've been holding Tesla shares from the bottom here. I'll hold it for as long as I can because that's my way of trading or investing in stocks. I don't day trade stocks. I would buy actual stocks share, like any brokerage firm that offers it, and I'll hold it for a long term. But the same idea is still looking at the higher time frame, entering them at the lower time frame. But now I just hold it for a long term, right? Because it's just an easier way to deal with the stocks, right? I have Nike stocks here, so I bought Nike stocks here. I've been holding it since, kind of thing, right? So all these ideas I post at the time when I want to buy, and they generally are playing out pretty good. I don't have any other stocks other than Tesla and Nike that I'm holding. All right, guys. So any last minute question before we wrap this up? Any other pairs? It's already gone over. Euro dollar I've gone over many times already, so you can take a look when this is all wrapped up. Um, what else to go over? Not much. Just current live position. Kiwi Yen still live in there. Still looking at whether or not we can kind of just continue from this structure here. Aussie Yen here, still live here, still running this one. And whether or not we can kind of commit to itself, maybe this ascending structure will be finished and we can break down and continue. I'm also still in Kiwi Dollar. Enter at the breakout here and almost got taken out here. Just like I almost got taken out Aussie Yen, but I'm still here, still live on this one. Kiwi Dollar, just looking to see whether or not we can just continue the bearish kind of trend here to continue downside. Um, I see some of the crypto has been pulling up, so I'm going to see whether or not this is going to be the new structure. Now, if it is, then I'll manage it accordingly. If the price breaks this high here, then I'm going to exit the positions. But if it doesn't, if it still remain relatively like this can push up to the high here and then still push down, then I'm going to hold on to these positions. You're welcome, guys. Always make an entry on 15 minute. Not necessarily. You can use any time frame you want, but 15 minutes is just a possible lower time frame entry. You can enter at any time frame you want, right? It doesn't have to limit to a entry like so. Like you can enter at 1 hour because 1 hour here is the same as really the 15 minutes. There's no difference, right? So it's about you identifying the structure first. You identify the bias first, and then you identify the structure, you identify the confirmation, and you set your entry order accordingly, right? So highlight you Forex market, just save this page, Forex Factory. So get Forex Factory, and then just look at it yourself, go to calendar, and then just filter it to only the red news, like high impact news. So just look at whatever high impact news you have for this week, right? So honestly, any rate announcements are usually going to be more volatile, so to speak. Usually more movement for the usually more movement in these rate announcements. And other than that, really not too much this week. Next week, FOMC usually something you want to watch out for. And then pound, there's banknotes. These is just interest rate. They do it like every month, right, or every couple months. This week, not much. Market will be pretty much closed during these holiday seasons. And then again, not much the following week, right? So yeah, thank you. I'm not really feeling well. I'm just probably getting cold. We just snow yesterday or snow overnight. It's getting a little bit colder now in Vancouver. and it's about 0 degrees or no, 2 degrees right now or something. So it's a little bit cold, to be honest. And usually when weather changes, I get pretty, I get sick or my nose gets really affected by it. So, all right, everyone. So I'm gonna wrap this up now. Any further question, you're welcome to interact with me or in the group chat. Hopefully, other people will answer your question. And we will see each other again on Wednesday, New York session, market update on 15 o'clock GMT. All right. So that is it for me, everyone. And hope everyone be safe, be out there, and see you all on.